let's get on to the presentation. Sorry for the little delay there. Okay, I'm going to move to this. And you guys seem to know quite a bit about changing for more specific words. So if you have a very general word, making it more specific. What is an example of a very general word?
General word. Sarah?
Ran.
Ran.
Ran. Okay. How could you make that into a more specific word?
Okay, Sarah, you'll make it specific.
The person ran with his shoes. His shoes wasted while she fed along the sidewalk.
I'm sorry?
You said it louder.
My shoes wasted and the mud as I fed along the sidewalk.
You squished in the mud as it sped along the sidewalk.
You squished in the mud as it fell on the sidewalk. Very nice, and it sounds beautiful as well. Other ways that you could make the word ran more specific, yeah, you could add some descriptive details. Very good. You could also think of a synonym like scurried. If you scurried out of somewhere, it might give a more interesting mental image, because scurrying is it's basically like running, but if you look it up in the dictionary, you'll find that there are some different ways of using it. So yeah, you can you could change a word like small house to, or small rundown house to shack or hovel, or giant house to castle, chateau, villa, mansion, manor. There are all these different words that you could use to describe, to make more specific a few general words like that. We can even tell ages through words like toddler, infant, teenager, as some of you probably used those words before. You know, it's more specific than saying that boy or that girl. And with names, you can get even more precise. Here's an example way to revise the passage about the creature entering an area. 3-year-old Kelpie was a shaggy, dark brown bunny with gargantuan ears and a small, twitchy nose. He backflipped animatedly into the basement with a loud thud. The basement smelled of rotten eggs. Poor Kelpie was rather miserable because an egg had landed on his head. This is a very extended description, so trying to use each one of the senses, how he felt, how it looked, how he looked, etc. So this is one way you could revise it. You could go with our pink unicorn, which I like very much. And these are just a few ways you can add details, make your writing more descriptive. By specifying, or by making certain words more clear, by adding details, and by making it more descriptive, you also make it more interesting. So let's try it for ourselves. Let's take this passage. We made a tree house. The tree house is in a tree. The tree house is nice. It has windows and a door. How can we make this more descriptive?
Excellent.
We could say my house, and the tree house was in a tree, and it was a very excited tree with a lot of cool windows and ventilators, the doors and the windows.
Okay, so the tree house is very exciting, and the audio was cutting in and out a little bit. So the tree house is very exciting. I heard that part, and windows and doors. What was the thing you said before that?
What else can we say, Isaac? The treehouse is very exciting. What can it be built out of or what?
The treehouse was built out of extended wood made out of plywood.
The treehouse. Okay, it's made of pine wood. We have a lot of pine trees in our yard, so I know exactly what that would look like. It's made of pine wood, so it smells very nice all year round. And what are some other details of it?
What do you think it is? Aaron?
The treehouse is in a colossal tree with thousands of branches.
A colossal tree with thousands of branches?
A colossal tree with thousands of branches. Excellent. And another thing that's very important is, again, using your imagination. So don't don't limit yourself necessarily to thinking, well, you know, there's not so many trees with thousands of branches. You can come up with some really creative, funny things when you're writing descriptively. Thousands of branches. So what are some nice things about this treehouse, or I should say exciting things? Are there any special features? Are there any things inside that make it particularly exciting and interesting?
Raymond?
The treehouse has a swing, a blue swing.
A blue swing.
And what's another thing you'd like to add to the treehouse? It has a blue swing. What else?
A Nintendo Wii.
Okay, a Nintendo Wii. And one more thing.
A giant swirly slide.
And a giant swirly slide. Great. So we've already added quite a few details. The treehouse is very exciting. It's made of pine wood, so it smells nice all year round. And here we've already gotten one of our senses. That's the smell. It smells nice all year round. And we actually, even though we use the word nice, we also go in and describe what makes it nice. It's made of pine wood, so it has that pine smell. The treehouse is in a colossal tree. So colossal, we're using a good descriptive word here, is in a colossal tree with thousands of branches. The treehouse has a blue swing, a Nintendo Wii, and a giant swirly slide, adding these details about what makes the treehouse special or unique. So already we're using a lot of the techniques that we just learned. So now it's your turn. Choose one of the topics below to write about descriptively, and I think that we'll do this together. A castle or a spaceship. Raise your hand if you think we should write about a castle. Okay, raise your hand if you think we should write about a spaceship. I think it's going for the castle. Okay. Would you say that's true? I'm not able to see your hands too clearly. Would you say that's true?
Yes, you're correct.
Great.
Yes.
So let's start off with, imagine we start off with something like the castle is big. Not super interesting. Already we probably figure out that unless this is a very tiny castle, then most castles are pretty large. What are some details we could add to make this more specific, to make this more descriptive?
We could say the big silver castle. No, the big.
They're not big. Another word for big.
The colossal giant castle.
Hey, Aaron.
That has a prince and a princess living in it. Was in a land far, far away.
The castle was in a land far, far away. Okay. And so imagine that you're walking right up to the castle. What's the first thing that really catches your eye?
Melanie?
Fire-breathing dragon.
Fire-breathing dragon.
There's a fire-eating dragon who...
Fire-breathing.
Oh, fire-breathing. Yeah, fire-eating would be useful, but maybe a little bit less impressive. Okay, fire-breathing dragon who stands guard over the moat. Beware of him when he's eaten too many... What do you think would make a fire-breathe dragon? Dragon breathe fire.
Beans?
Beans.
Beans.
Okay. The colossal giant silver castle is a prince and a princess live inside. The castle is in a land far, far away. There's a fire-breathing dragon who stands guard over the moat. Beware of him when he's eaten too many beans. What else can we add about the castle? We know what it looks like. It's huge. It's silver. Maybe what does it smell like? What does it sound like? Let's add some of these sentences.
What does it smell like?
It smells so beautiful and it also has gold.
It smells as beautiful as...
Gold?
Cool. Smell. What smells as beautiful as a rose? Smells as beautiful as a rose. All right. Unless I call on you, your voice is off.
The castle smells as beautiful as a rose, fresh out of the royal gardens. So, the reason that I might say something like it smells as beautiful as a rose, fresh out of the royal gardens, is because that actually does two things. I'm being a little sneaky here. Is that it says it's also telling that there's some gardens in the castle because it smells like a rose, fresh picked out of them. And so what are some other final details we might add to this castle? What about the sounds? If you're walking through the hallways in the castle, what do you hear?
Hey, Ty, what do you hear?
The ghostly shrieks from the dungeon.
Okay, that's intriguing. However, you walking inside, okay, maybe the visitors walking inside will be treated to ghostly shrieks from the dungeon. Okay, so we end on a sort of slightly frightening note there. The colossal giant silver castle has a prince and princess living inside. The castle is in a land far, far away. There's a fire-breathing dragon who stands guard over the moat. Beware of him when he's eaten too many beans. The castle smells as beautiful as a rose fresh out of the royal gardens. Visitors walking inside will be treated to ghostly shrieks from the dungeon. Alright, so looking at this passage, and this isn't like a perfect piece of writing, but I think we can probably say that it's a lot better than if we just said the castle is big or the castle is pretty cool. So when we actually go into detail, when we explain why it's cool or why it's awesome, by using these details, we not only make it more interesting, we give our readers a better visual image, and we make it unique. So descriptive writing isn't just all about getting a good score on a writing test, although it might help that. It's also about having a fun time with your writing and making your readers enjoy your stories. So descriptive writing is an excellent skill to have, and it's one that will last you for a very long time. Now, are there any questions either about some of the things that you've learned about descriptive writing, or you can ask any question that's fairly relevant?
About writing. Isaac?
Will it make it bad if you add too much description?
That's a great question. Will it make it bad if you add too much description? If, let's say you have a story, maybe you're writing a short story, so it's a couple of pages long, and it has a really exciting plot, and you want your readers to be excited. It could be something where if you are, this is where you might have too much description, is let's say you have, your main character is a princess, and you talk about every single gem on her royal crown, and you say she has 2,400 gems on her royal crown, which is exactly 8 feet tall, and one gem is a diamond, which is mined in the land of Anna, and this diamond was carted quite a long way. The next diamond on her tiara is a ruby, and this came from this area and was given as a gift by so-and-so. The next gem on her, do you see how that might get a little bit, or if you described exactly how many feet of cloth went into making her dress. So you want to make sure that you don't add details that are kind of silly, but I think that overall description is a very good thing. It's just make sure, and I don't think any of you should have this problem because a lot of it is common sense. Just think, is this interesting for me to read? Does it make the story better? And if you think the answer is yes, then it's fine. And if you're writing pages and pages describing each gem on a royal crown, then that's a little much. So it's...
And also, can I interrupt for a second?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you'll pick one word, like giant. Let's say you want to say it was a giant castle. Wouldn't it be better to just, instead of saying it was a giant, big, huge, massive castle, is that basically saying the exact same thing?
Yes.
Wouldn't it be just pick a really good one word to say it was big, like it was a colossal castle, instead of saying it was a giant, big, huge? That's a little repetitive. You don't need to say how big it was using 5 different adjectives.
I didn't leave you. And actually, in our sentence right here, we put the colossal giant silver castle. And so that is definitely an area where we could improve. And with some of the sentences that we were typing up before, we were using some words that basically mean the same thing. And so what I encourage you to do is save up those words, because let's say you really love the word gargantuan and you really love the word colossal and you really want to use gigantic. Instead of putting them all in at once, then maybe describe a castle as colossal here, and maybe 12 pages later, you could, if you're writing a very long story, then you could describe the elephant as gargantuan. So you can, if you don't use all your words at once, then it gives you the opportunity to use them later without boring the reader, and it also makes the flow of your story better. So yeah, we could take off one of those adjectives very easily. Are there any other questions?
Emily?
How long should a sentence be?
I'm sorry?
How long should a descriptive sentence be?
How does a descriptive sentence, I didn't quite hear that.
How long should a descriptive sentence be?
How long should a descriptive sentence be? It really, there's not like a specific rule as far as how many lines you should put in a description. I think it really depends on how long what you're writing is and what the purpose of your writing is. So if you're writing a persuasive essay about why your parents should, I don't know, let you go to the amusement park on the weekend, if you would write an essay to your parents trying to get them to do something, you don't need to spend half of the entire essay describing the amusement park. You might spend a couple of lines to make it more effective, because the purpose of writing that essay is to condense and not to describe. Whereas if you're writing a story or a personal narrative, or like when you're writing a story about your own life, then you might put a little more into your description, because the purpose of the story, part of it is to entertain your readers, and so they're looking for a nice visual image. So I think it's really depending on what kind of thing you're writing and how long what you're writing is.
Any other questions? Right.
How long does it take to write a book?
How long does it take to write a book? Well, people have taken different times. Some people have written their books in a few days, and some people have taken like 10 years to write one book. Actually, I'm sure there are people who have taken longer than that. Just because some authors they want to get it exactly right, and it takes them a very long time to do that. And for me, for my first book, Flying Fingers, it took about half a year. So from the writing up my stories to putting them together, sending off the manuscript, including all the time between getting it published and when I started writing. So it took me about half a year. But it really depends.
Is there any specific topics that interest people a lot?
Are there any specific topics that interest people a lot? As far as writing goes?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there are some topics that interest people quite a bit. I found that sometimes writing about things that happen to you in your own life can be really interesting. And the reason that I think this works pretty well is that everyone has common experiences, like a time that they weren't sure about what was going to happen, or something like that. So writing about things that happen to you, a lot of other people will find common interest in that. And then just asking your fellow students, what are some things that interest you? You might find sports, or you might find music, or you might find watching the news. There are many different interests, and I think that just thinking about your own topic interests and thinking, would other people enjoy it is always a good idea.
Jania?
How old were you whenever you wrote your first book?
I was 7 years old when I began work on my first book, Flying Fingers, and I was just almost 8 when it came out.
Wow. How old are you now?
How old am I now? I'm 13. I just turned 13 in October of last year.
Wow.
So I'm hoping that I'll be able to publish another book soon, so that I can publish a book every couple of years. Hopefully continue the trend.
I said 12.
Okay, Isaac. Isaac? Anything else? Okay, well, this is a great example of how there's no age limit to start, publishing and writing. Aaron?
Where do you live?
Where do I live? I live in Redmond, Washington State. So Redmond is near Seattle. Do any of you know where Seattle is?
No. Yeah.
Well, Seattle is.
Just raise your hand. Junior?
Washington.
Very good. It's in Washington. So if I unfortunately my drawing skills are not very good, and so Washington looks sort of like this. This is a very approximate. Like don't be using this as a reference on your geography tests or anything. But Seattle is around this area. This is the coast of the Pacific Ocean, and then there's this area called Puget Sound, and there's Canada up here and various islands and stuff. But Seattle is around this area near the Puget Sound, and that drawing is just so bad that I don't want to stay on the same page. But one more question.
Last one, Brooke.
Is that smartboard behind you?
It's an active board, so not by the same company, but very similar. So I can drag stuff around and do various stuff. Does the teacher have any questions? Does the teacher have any questions?
No, other than I'm flabbergasted at your age. It's very impressive.
Thank you very much.
How much
Oh, sorry.
I just said you've accomplished a lot for being so young.
Thank you very much. These students, you guys, you've worked really hard. You've done a wonderful job. I loved hearing about all of your ideas for descriptive writing. And writing is something that it's a great skill. It lasts you for your entire life, but you want to keep it, keep it from getting rusty. Definitely practice your writing. Write for fun. Have fun time writing in school, and descriptive writing is one of the things that can help make your writing more interesting. So thank you so very much. I really enjoyed talking to you, and I hope you all have a great day.
Thank you.